alcohol for the fifth time now. The man charged with killing Chris Gradoville, the former director of baseball operations for Creighton University, is deemed unfit to stand trial. The judge found that Liddell Thornton is still mentally incompetent to stand trial. However, he thinks there is a substantial probability that Thornton will become competent within a reasonable length of time. Authorities say that Thornton shot and killed Gradoville in September of 2021. He was originally declared incompetent to stand trial back in June of last year. Thornton will be committed to the Lincoln Regional Center, and the court will review his status once again on July 5th.